And I went through, something but like that where I had worked in the same industry since I was 14 years old. Was waste removal. I actually still do it at part-time.
Yes.
So I've been doing this a long time, and I had worked for my dad from 2009 until 2019 at
10
his,
years.
yeah, 10 years, at his waste removal company. So I started at the bottom, I worked my way all the way up to the lead supervisor, and everything was great. I had a team that I managed. I was basically the decision maker, especially towards the end of it, because my dad did get sick with brain cancer, and late 2019 he lost his battle.
I'm
So,
so sorry to hear that.
mm, thank you. And that's what really started everything, because
Mm.
that was like, okay, we sold the company, like right before he passed. We all sat down as a family, decided the best thing to do was just to sell it than to try to keep it going without him.
Mm.
So we sold it. Now, I had been there for 10 years. All the plans were lined up for me to take it over and me run the company after he
Yeah.
retired. Well, that just went out the window.
Mm.
So that was kind of what started everything. I took 3 months and didn't work at all, and then I ended up getting another job for a another waste removal company, which was awesome.
Mm.
And I worked there for a while, but I felt like something was missing. And at first, I was like, "Well, that's obvious. My dad's gone, our business is gone, our employees are gone. Like our whole family kind of just got blown up."
Mm.
But then, like, I kept. It's like, okay, something else is missing, and it's kind of like felt like I had this urge to do something for myself, and I worked for that company for 3 years, and then they sold, and I had to go work for the company that bought the company.
Yes.
So that was like the final straw. I was like, all right, enough's enough. I can't rely on somebody else for my life, my income and all that. I need to do something for myself.
Yes.
So that's kind of how it got started. I started looking into real estate because I love real estate, and I was like, all right, I'll start a real estate business. Well, then I found Rob Dial. He has a podcast called The Mindset Mentor. And that podcast is what really changed everything for me because
Yeah.
that's when I got introduced to self development. And I started going down that journey of improving myself. And it's kind of like a lot of what you said. You don't know what you don't know. And I had no idea that this world existed. And I was like, I can really help people.
Mm.
And I ended up getting a coach, and he said the same thing. He's like, I think you should be a coach yourself because you have so many things that you've gone through in your life and you figured out how to overcome them that you can help so many people overcome their challenges and improve their life. And that's basically what started out. I went head first into there, and here I am today. I'm a certified business coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a podcast coach, and we just help people improve the quality of their life wherever they're at in their life. Because I meet my clients where they're at. That's why I do have a lot of different services, a lot of different packages, a lot of different price points,
Mm.
and that's because I want to meet where I was, the person that I was 4 or 5 years ago. I want that person to be able to work with me so I can guide them to get them to the next level in their life.
My gosh, Nick. Like I love how there are like a few parallels and similarities in our stories, and I
Yeah.
love just how powerful your journey has been. And actually I wanted to ask when as you were talking, the thing that came up because I know there was a lot of grief involved. And I think the thing that not many people talk about is like the grief from the passing of someone is one thing, whether it's a loved one or a friend or something, and that's really, really harsh. But then I think not many people talk about the grief of the death of an identity either,
Yeah.
right? Because you were operating and working in one way, and
Hmm.
then life happened, and
Yeah.
then you had to start operating and working in another way, and then in
Hmm.
another way, and then in another way. So how did you deal with those moments of grief, the grieving of the person you once were to become who you are step by step along the way until now?
So I'm a guy, and we like to just shove everything down and deal with it later.
That's
So
me too.
yeah, I I didn't grieve until about a year and a half to 2 years after my dad passed, and that's the grief of him passing, and like you're saying, my old identity. I lost the life that I was living.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same. Like that company and what we did as a family, that was who I was. And like you, on the outside, everything looked great. I was making good money. I have a nice house, nice vehicles, all that. But it wasn't that great. And how I dealt with it, honestly, is just self-development. That's what got me through everything. So, like that podcast I mentioned,
Mm.
I would listen to that podcast all day long, just to try to understand what I was going through. Because that's another thing is you're confused. You don't know what's happening because you don't know what you don't know, and it's like you gotta read books and listen to podcasts and hire a coach to help you figure out what you're going through, and then help you figure out how to get through it.